Sophie bolted from the hotel room at dawn, her heart pounding like a drum in a silent storm, leaving behind the tangled sheets and the woman whose touch had ignited a fire she never knew existed. But as she clutched her boarding pass at JFK Airport, ready to flee back to her predictable life in Seattle, Melody appeared out of nowhere, her eyes fierce and unyielding, blocking Sophie's path with a single devastating word: wait. In that moment, Sophie realized this wasn't just a one-night stand. It was the spark that would burn down everything she held dear. Sophie stared at Melody, the confident stranger from the bar last night, now standing in the bustling terminal like a force of nature. How had she found her? The question screamed in Sophie's mind, but her voice failed her. Melody's presence was overwhelming, tall, poised, with that same alpha energy that had drawn Sophie in amid the dim lights and pulsing music of the Manhattan nightclub. "I can't just let you disappear," Melody said, her voice low but commanding, stepping closer. Sophie's breath caught. She could still feel the echo of Melody's hands on her skin, the way their bodies had moved in unspoken harmony. But that was last night, a reckless escape from the weight of her family's expectations. Now, in the harsh fluorescent glow of the airport, it felt like a mistake that could unravel her entire world. Sophie's thoughts raced. She was 28, a mid-level marketing executive at a conservative firm in Seattle, raised in a strict Catholic household where her parents' dreams for her included a stable marriage to a nice man and grandchildren to dote on. Coming out wasn't an option. It would shatter her mother, who clung to tradition like a lifeline after losing her own sister to what she called sinful choices. Sophie had buried her attractions deep, dating men sporadically to keep up appearances. Last night's indulgence was supposed to be anonymous, a secret buried in New York. But here was Melody, refusing to let it end. "Why are you here?" Sophie finally whispered, glancing at the gate where passengers were boarding. Her flight home was her escape route, back to safety, back to pretending. Melody's eyes softened for a split second, revealing a vulnerability that clashed with her bold demeanor. "Because what happened last night wasn't nothing. You felt it too. And I don't walk away from that." She reached into her pocket and pulled out Sophie's forgotten earring, the one with the tiny sapphire her grandmother had given her. "You left this. And maybe more." Sophie's stomach twisted. Taking the earring meant acknowledging the connection, but ignoring it felt like denying a part of herself she'd long suppressed. Her mind flooded with inner turmoil. What if this is who I am? What if running means I'll never feel alive again? But the cost, her family's disapproval, the judgmental stares from her church community, the potential loss of her job in a company where the CEO preached family values. It was too high. She grabbed the earring and turned away, muttering, "This was a mistake." As she hurried toward the gate, Melody called after her, "Sophie, wait. I know about your life back home. I looked you up." Sophie froze. "How?" Panic surged. Melody continued, "Your LinkedIn, your social media. You're not as hidden as you think. Let's talk. Coffee right here. If you still want to leave after, I won't stop you." The offer hung in the air like a challenge. Sophie's boarding pass burned in her hand. She could board, forget this, return to her facade. Or she could stay, face the truth bubbling inside her. The internal conflict raged. Duty to family versus the pull of authenticity. In a decision that would haunt her, Sophie nodded, leading them to a nearby cafe. As they sat, Melody opened up first. She was 30, a successful architect in New York, out and proud since college but not without scars. Her own family had disowned her when she came out, her father a prominent businessman who couldn't handle the embarrassment. "I built my life from scratch," Melody said, her voice steady. "No regrets, but it hurt like hell." Sophie listened, her defenses cracking. She shared snippets of her own story. The pressure from her parents to settle down, the blind dates they arranged, the gnawing emptiness. "I've never with a woman before," she admitted, her cheeks flushing. "It scares me." Melody leaned in. "Fear is what keeps us chained. But you don't have to face it alone." Their conversation flowed, hours slipping by until Sophie missed her flight. In that cafe, a bond formed, fragile yet electric. By evening, they were back in Melody's apartment, not for passion, but for honest talk that peeled away layers of pretense. Days turned into a week. Sophie called in sick to work, extending her business trip. Melody showed her the city, but more importantly, introduced her to a world where being true to oneself was possible. They visited queer-friendly spots, where Sophie saw couples like them living openly. Yet doubt gnawed at her. Each night, alone in the guest room, Sophie's mind whirled. Am I betraying my family? Is this selfishness or self-discovery? The moral quandary deepened when her mother called, excited about a potential suitor back home. He's perfect for you, dear. Come home soon. Guilt clawed at Sophie. She confided in Melody, who urged her to consider coming out. Hiding eats you alive, Melody said. But Sophie recoiled. You don't understand. My parents would never accept it. It would kill them. The tension built, their first argument erupting over dinner. Melody accused her of cowardice. Sophie shot back about Melody's privilege in a liberal city. Not everyone has the luxury to burn bridges. The fight left them raw, but it also drew them closer. Sophie decided to stay longer, booking another flight. In quiet moments, she pondered the ethical dilemma. Was pursuing this worth the pain it would cause others? The societal pressure weighed heavy. Images of disapproving relatives, lost friendships, career setbacks. Yet, Melody's unwavering support made her question everything. As the week ended, Sophie faced a choice. Return home and suppress it all, or risk everything for a chance at real happiness. She chose to stay, calling her boss for an extension. But deep down, she knew this was just delaying the inevitable storm. The internal battle intensified. Right or wrong? Self or family? The answers eluded her, but the pull toward Melody grew stronger, setting the stage for deeper conflicts ahead. Sophie woke to the sound of her phone buzzing incessantly on the nightstand in Melody's spare room. It was her sister, Claire, her voice laced with worry. Sophie, where are you? Mom's freaking out. You were supposed to be back days ago. Sophie's heart sank. She had been dodging calls, crafting vague texts about work delays, but the lies were piling up like debt she couldn't pay. I'm fine, just tied up with a project, Sophie replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Claire pressed. This isn't like you. Is something wrong? Sophie hesitated, the weight of her secret pressing down. How could she explain? That she'd met someone who made her feel seen for the first time? That it was a woman and it challenged everything their family stood for? The moral conflict tore at her. Honesty would devastate Claire, who idolized their parents' perfect marriage, but deception felt like poison in her veins. After hanging up, Sophie found Melody in the kitchen brewing coffee. Family trouble? Melody asked, reading her face. Sophie nodded, pouring out her fears. Melody listened, then shared her own story of coming out, the rejection, the loneliness, but ultimately the freedom. It wasn't easy, but pretending was worse. Sophie envied her resolve, but her own doubts swirled. What if my family cuts me off? Am I strong enough to survive that? They spent the day exploring Brooklyn, but Sophie's mind was elsewhere. At a park watching families picnic, she imagined her own. Holidays ruined by awkward silences, her parents' disappointed eyes. The societal lens amplified it. In conservative Seattle circles, being gay was still whispered about, a flaw to be pitted or condemned. Melody noticed her distraction and pulled her aside. You're thinking about leaving, aren't you? The confrontation was inevitable. Sophie admitted, I can't do this to them. It's not just about me. Melody's face hardened. So you'll sacrifice yourself for their comfort? That's not love, that's fear. The word stung, igniting a heated debate. Sophie defended her loyalty. Melody called it self-betrayal. They parted ways angrily, Sophie storming back to the apartment alone. That night, solitude amplified her inner monologue. Why does loving someone have to cost so much? Is it ethical to prioritize my happiness over their pain? She scrolled through old family photos, tears blurring the screen. Her father's proud smile at her graduation, her mother's homemade meals. Sacred bonds she risked shattering. But suppressing her feelings for Melody felt like dying slowly. The next morning, Melody apologized, admitting her pushiness stemmed from her own past hurts. I don't want you to regret running. They reconciled, deciding to take it slow. Sophie extended her stay again. But the pressure mounted when her boss emailed, questioning her absence. We need you back. Is everything okay? The professional risk loomed. Her firm was old school, with whispers of discrimination against non-traditional employees. As days blurred, their relationship deepened through shared vulnerabilities. Melody opened up about a past betrayal, an ex who left her for a man to appease family, leaving Melody distrustful. "I thought she was the one, but she chose safety over us." Sophie saw parallels, fearing she'd do the same. The drama escalated when Sophie received a call from her mother, who had booked a flight to New York to check on you. Panic set in. "She's coming tomorrow." Melody suggested honesty, but Sophie balked. She'd have a heart attack. Instead, she planned to meet her mother alone, hiding Melody. The deception gnawed at her. Was this the right choice or just cowardice? Meeting at a hotel, her mother hugged her tightly. "You look different, sweetie. What's going on?" Sophie evaded, blaming stress. But over lunch, her mother probed about dating. "Your father and I worry. You're not getting younger." The conversation turned pointed. "We want you happy with a family like ours." Sophie's chest tightened. Internally, she screamed, "But what if my happiness looks different?" The moral quandary peaked. Defy expectations and risk alienation, or conform and lose herself. She deflected, but her mother's intuition sparked suspicion. "Is there someone? A man?" "No, Mom," Sophie lied, the word tasting bitter. Back at Melody's, she broke down. "I can't keep this up." Melody held her, but tension simmered. "Then tell her." Sophie refused, leading to another rift. Melody accused her of using her as an experiment. Sophie countered that Melody didn't grasp the stakes. The fight culminated in Sophie packing her bags. "I need space." She checked into a hotel, alone with her thoughts. Was leaving Melody the ethical path? Preserving family harmony? Or was it abandoning a rare connection? Sleepless, she weighed the consequences. A life of quiet regret versus potential exile. By dawn, doubt crept in, maybe she could have both. But reality hit when her mother called again, excited about introducing her to a family friend's son upon return. The pressure was suffocating. Reconciling with Melody the next day, they agreed to boundaries. But the visit with her mother ended in near disaster when Melody texted at the wrong moment, her name popping up. Her mother saw it, frowning. "Who's Melody?" "A friend." Sophie nodded hastily, but the seed of doubt was planted. As her mother left, Sophie felt the noose tightening. The societal and familial conflicts were closing in, forcing choices that would demand sacrifices she wasn't ready for. With her mother gone, Sophie returned to Melody's apartment, but the air felt thicker, charged with unspoken fears. Melody greeted her cautiously. "Did it go okay?" Sophie nodded, but inside turmoil brewed. The close call had amplified her anxiety. What if her family discovered the truth? The ethical dilemma haunted her. Prioritizing self-truth meant potentially destroying her parents' world, built on generations of traditional values. They tried to reclaim normalcy, cooking dinner together. Melody shared stories of her advocacy work with LGBTQ+ youth, inspiring yet intimidating. "I help kids who are kicked out. It's heartbreaking but necessary." Sophie admired her, but it stirred guilt. Am I one of those kids in waiting? Her mind raced with scenarios: disownment, lost inheritance, social ostracism in their tight-knit community. The tension peaked when Sophie's phone rang during dinner. Her father. His voice boomed with concern. "Your mother's worried sick. She says you seemed off. What's really going on in New York?" Sophie stammered excuses, but he pressed. "Are you in trouble? Drugs? A bad crowd?" The irony burned. If only he knew the trouble was love. Hanging up, Sophie confided in Melody. They'd never understand. Melody challenged her gently. "Have you given them a chance?" The debate reignited, Sophie defending cultural norms, Melody arguing for progress. Society changes when people stand up. But Sophie feared the personal cost, her father's heart condition, her mother's depression history. Was forcing change selfish? Days later, a turning point came. Melody invited Sophie to a support group meeting for queer professionals. Reluctant, Sophie attended, hearing stories mirroring her own. Hidden lives, family rifts, eventual healing. One woman shared, "I lost my parents for years, but we reconciled. Truth sets you free." Inspired, Sophie considered coming out, but doubt lingered. What if mine don't come back? Back home, Melody's home. Intimacy grew, not physical but emotional. They discussed futures, dreams clashing with realities. Melody wanted openness. Sophie craved caution. The conflict manifested in small betrayals. Sophie ignoring Melody's calls during work Zooms, pretending to be single in emails to friends. Melody noticed hurt flashing in her eyes. "Am I your dirty secret?" The accusation led to a blowout. "You don't get it," Sophie yelled. "My job, my life. It's all at risk," Melody retorted. "And what about us? Am I worth fighting for?" Sophie stormed out, wandering Central Park, her inner voice relentless. Choose her and lose everything else? Or lose her and keep the facade? The moral ambiguity tore her apart. Was love justification for upheaval? Seeking solace, Sophie called Claire. Testing waters. "What if I like someone different?" Claire laughed it off. "Like a Republican?" Mom would flip. The dismissal stung, confirming fears. Returning to Melody, she apologized, but cracks showed. Melody revealed her own insecurity. "My ex chose family over me. I can't go through that again." Their bond strained, but they pushed forward. Sophie decided to return to Seattle, promising visits. At the airport, echoing their first meeting, Melody kissed her goodbye softly. "Don't let fear win." Sophie boarded, heart heavy. Back home, normalcy felt suffocating. Her parents welcomed her with a surprise dinner. Introducing Mark, the perfect suitor. He was kind, but sparks were absent. Internally, Sophie compared him to Melody, guilt surging. "Am I leading him on? Is this ethical?" Work resumed, but distractions mounted. Colleagues noticed her distance. Rumors swirled. Her boss pulled her aside. "Everything all right? We value focus here." The subtle warning hinted at the company's unspoken biases. At home, family dinners turned interrogative. "When will you settle down?" her mother asked. Sophie's silence fueled suspicion. Nights were torment. She texted Melody secretly, their conversations a lifeline. But distance bred issues. Melody's jealousy over Mark, Sophie's resentment of pressure. A video call escalated. Melody accused her of regression. Sophie defended necessity. "You think it's easy? Society isn't as accepting here." The fight ended in tears, but reconciliation followed. Sophie planned a secret trip to New York. However, fate intervened. Claire found Sophie's hidden journal, entries about Melody. Confrontation ensued. "Is this true? You're gay." Claire's shock mirrored Sophie's fear. "Don't tell Mom and Dad," Sophie begged. Claire agreed reluctantly, but the betrayal lingered. "How could you hide this from me?" The family dynamic shifted subtly. Claire's distance, awkward silences. Sophie's guilt compounded. Had she damaged their bond irreparably? The societal mirror reflected harshly. Friends' casual homophobic jokes now cut deep. She pondered the greater good. Suppress for peace or reveal and force growth? As weeks passed, Melody visited Seattle covertly. Hiding her in a hotel felt wrong, amplifying moral questions. During a stolen moment, Melody proposed going public. "We deserve this." Sophie wavered, the decision looming like a storm. But when her father suffered a minor health scare, blame turned inward. Stress from my lies. The cost of deception became tangible, pushing her toward a breaking point. Sophie's world teetered on the edge after her father's scare. Doctors said it was stress-related, but in her mind it was her fault, the web of lies straining family ties. She visited him in the hospital, his frail form a stark reminder of vulnerability. "Promise me you'll be happy, kiddo," he said weakly. Sophie nodded, tears welling, her inner conflict raging. Happiness with Melody means hurting you. Is that the price of truth? Discharged, her father recovered at home. But the incident galvanized Sophie. She confided more in Claire, who struggled with acceptance. "I love you, but this changes everything," Claire admitted. "What about the family name?" The societal pressure echoed. Their community revered tradition, with church leaders decrying modern sins. Sophie felt isolated, questioning her choices. Right to pursue love, or duty to conform? Melody, sensing the shift via calls, urged action. "Come to New York permanently." The idea tempted, but uprooting meant abandoning family. Ethical debates consumed her nights. Self-fulfillment versus filial piety? She researched online. reading stories of reconciliation and rupture, but answers varied. Tension mounted when Mark pursued her aggressively, encouraged by her parents. A double date with Claire and her husband turned disastrous. Mark's hand on hers felt invasive. Sophie's mind wandered to Melody. Excusing herself, she called Melody, whispering affections. But Claire overheard, confronting her later. "You're cheating on your life." The accusation stung, highlighting betrayal's layers. Sophie defended. "This is my truth." Claire retorted. "Truth that destroys us?" Their bond fractured. Claire threatening to tell their parents. Panic set in. Sophie pleaded, buying time, but the moral quandary deepened. Silence protects, but at what cost to integrity? Work added fuel. A promotion opportunity arose, but her distraction showed. During a presentation she faltered thoughts on Melody. Her boss noted, "We expect commitment." Whispers of her unreliability spread, tinged with bias. Sophie wondered, discrimination or my fault? In desperation, she flew to New York, seeking clarity with Melody. Their reunion was intense, emotions spilling. Melody proposed cohabitation. "We can build a life." Sophie hesitated, envisioning fallout. "My family." Melody pressed, "Choose us." The ultimatum forced introspection. Love demands sacrifice, but whose? Back in Seattle, crisis hit. Claire, in anger, revealed everything to their parents. The confrontation was brutal. Her mother wept. "How could you? This isn't you." Her father, still weak, looked betrayed. "We raised you better." Sophie stood her ground, voice trembling. "This is me. I love her." The room exploded in accusations: sin, shame, societal ruin. Her mother invoked religion. "God doesn't approve." Sophie countered with love's universality, but it fell on deaf ears. Internally she agonized. Am I forcing them to change or freeing myself? The pain was visceral, their rejection cutting deep. Exiled emotionally, Sophie packed, moving to a friend's couch. Calls to Melody brought solace, but guilt lingered. "Did I push too hard?" Melody asked. Sophie reassured, but doubt festered. Society's judgment amplified. Lost friends, judgmental stares at church events she no longer attended. Rebuilding began slowly. Sophie transferred jobs to New York, accepting a demotion for acceptance. The professional sacrifice stung, but freedom beckoned. Living with Melody, their relationship flourished amid challenges. Melody's past traumas surfaced, jealousy over Sophie's lingering family ties. Arguments arose. "You still call them?" Sophie snapped. "They're my blood." A betrayal tested them. Melody, insecure, flirted with an ex at a party, Sophie witnessing. Hurt exploded. "How could you?" The fight revealed vulnerabilities, Melody's fear of abandonment. They reconciled, but trust cracked. Sophie pondered. Is this worth the constant pain? Family outreach came sporadically. Claire mediated, urging therapy. A session with her parents was tense, old wounds reopening. Her mother admitted fears of losing her. Her father struggled with pride. Progress inched, but setbacks followed. A cousin's wedding excluding Sophie, societal whispers persisting. Through it all, Sophie's inner voice evolved. Sacrifices forged strength, but at what limit? She volunteered with Melody's group, helping others, finding purpose. Yet doubts remained. Did I choose right or selfishly? As months passed, equilibrium formed. Sophie and Melody committed deeper, planning a future. But a call from home shattered peace, her mother's illness. Rushing back, Sophie faced reconciliation or final rift. At the bedside, truths poured. "I don't understand, but I love you," her mother whispered. Tears flowed, bridges mending tentatively. The experience humbled Sophie, highlighting love's complexity. Back with Melody, she reflected on the journey's costs. Broken trust, lost time, emotional scars. But growth emerged, a testament to resilience. Yet, the ethical shadows lingered, questioning every step. Sophie's return to New York after her mother's scare brought a fragile hope. But the mending with her family was slow, punctuated by relapses into old arguments. Phone calls started civil, evolving to cautious acceptance, but underlying tensions simmered. Her father sent a tentative email. "We're trying." Sophie replied gratefully but internally wrestled. Forgiveness earned or pity? The moral balance tipped precariously. Her choices had inflicted pain, yet withholding truth would have corroded her soul. With Melody, stability grew, but new conflicts arose from external pressures. At work, Sophie's new firm was progressive, but colleagues' casual questions about her partner forced outings she wasn't always ready for. One coworker, conservative, distanced himself, whispering judgments. Society's undercurrents reminded her, acceptance isn't universal. She pondered the broader impact. By living openly, did she challenge norms or invite backlash? A pivotal betrayal came from an unexpected source. Claire, under family strain, leaked Sophie's story to extended relatives, framing it as a phase. The fallout was swift. Uninvites to gatherings, accusatory messages. Sophie confronted Claire. Why? I trusted you. Claire broke down, admitting jealousy and fear. You left us for her. It feels like betrayal. The revelation deepened Sophie's guilt. Her pursuit of happiness had ripple effects, damaging sibling bonds. They attended couples therapy, unpacking layers. The therapist probed, what sacrifices are you willing to make? Sophie admitted fears of total loss. Melody confessed abandonment issues. Sessions revealed Melody's deeper scar. A childhood friend who turned on her after coming out, leading to bullying. I push because I'm scared you'll leave. Vulnerability bonded them, but healing demanded work. Societal clashes peaked at a pride event. Sophie, newly out, marched with Melody, empowered yet terrified. Counter-protesters shouted slurs, echoing her parents' early words. A stone grazed Melody's arm, minor but symbolic. In the aftermath, Sophie raged internally. Why must love be a battle? The incident sparked activism. They joined advocacy, channeling pain into purpose. But exhaustion set in, constant vigilance wearing thin. Family reconciliation advanced when her parents visited New York. The meeting was awkward, small talk veering to discomfort. Her mother hugged Melody tentatively. Her father nodded stiffly. Over dinner, truths emerged. We were wrong to judge, her father admitted. Sophie wept, relief mingling with resentment. Too late for painless? The visit ended positively, but Sophie questioned authenticity. Genuine change or fear of losing her? Backlash followed. A relative disowned them publicly online, labeling Sophie corrupted. The post went viral in their community, drawing hate mail. Sophie's boss offered support, but the stress triggered anxiety attacks. Melody held her through nights of doubt. We're stronger together. Yet, Sophie wondered, at what point does perseverance become masochism? A turning point arrived with Melody's proposal. Not marriage but commitment. In a quiet park, she offered a ring. Through everything, you're my choice. Sophie accepted, joy tempered by realism. Planning a small ceremony invited more drama. Who to invite? Family RSVPs varied. Some attended, others boycotted. Claire came, mending fences. I'm proud of you. The event was intimate, vows raw with emotion. Sophie spoke of sacrifices. Love costs, but it's worth every tear. Melody echoed, promising unwavering support. Post-ceremony, highs crashed with a call. Her father's relapse blamed on stress. Guilt resurfaced. My happiness, his health? She rushed home, finding him stable but frail. Don't blame yourself, he said. We're learning. The cycle of healing and hurt continued, teaching Sophie resilience's price. Society evolved slowly. Friends returned, others faded. Professionally, she thrived in advocacy roles, turning pain into impact. With Melody, they navigated parenthood discussions, adopting a dog as a start, symbolic of building family anew. Yet, reflections lingered. Betrayals mended partially. Some scars permanent. Sophie pondered the journey's ethics. Choices ripple, demanding accountability. In quiet moments, she asked herself, was it all justified? As years hinted at closure, Sophie looked back on the one-night stand that ignited it all. From flight to fight, the path was fraught with damage and awakening. But in the end, was the pursuit of authentic love a righteous rebellion against oppressive norms, or a selfish upheaval that inflicted unnecessary suffering on those bound by tradition?